Imagine waking up one morning and looking in the mirror, only to realize you don't recognize the person staring back at you. It might sound like something out of a movie, but for Johnny Depp, it was a harsh reality that he recently opened up about. Despite being one of the most iconic actors in Hollywood, known for playing legendary characters like Captain Jack Sparrow, Edward Scissorhands, and Willy Wonka, Depp admitted that he lost sight of who he truly was for a long time. He said that there was a moment when he didn't even recognize himself anymore, and that feeling of being disconnected from his own identity was something he had to face head-on. Now, you might be thinking, how can someone like Johnny Depp, who has it all, feel so lost? It's easy to think that fame, success, and fortune solve everything, but deep down, we all know that the outside world isn't always a reflection of how we feel on the inside. Hollywood has its own pressures, its own set of rules, and its own expectations. These pressures can sometimes be more suffocating than liberating. Johnny Depp, despite being loved by millions, wasn't immune to the emotional struggles that so many of us face in our everyday lives. Depp's journey into the depths of self-doubt wasn't something that happened overnight. It was a gradual process, one that unfolded over years. As a child, Depp had big dreams. He wanted to make a name for himself in the music world, but acting called his name louder. And from the very beginning, he captivated audiences. He became a household name almost immediately with his role in 21 Jump Street, and later became a movie star with blockbuster hits like the Pirates of the Caribbean franchise. But with success came pressure. The more successful he became, the more intense the spotlight grew. Public attention became a constant companion, and his every move was watched, critiqued, and analyzed by the world. This is the price of fame, right? Or so we thought. The fame that Depp had worked so hard to achieve was simultaneously a blessing and a curse. While it brought wealth, recognition, and opportunities, it also brought with it a relentless cycle of expectations. There was the constant need to perform, the pressure to live up to his image as a Hollywood star, and the demands of his career. People expect you to always be on, always ready to entertain. But what happens when the actor behind the roles gets lost in those characters? That's exactly what Johnny Depp started to experience. The lines between who he was and the characters he played began to blur. It's easy to get caught up in the chaos of fame, to let it define who you are and who you're supposed to be. For a while, Depp let that happen. He became the person that everyone else wanted him to be, the person that the world expected him to be. But in doing so, he lost touch with the man he truly was. Now, take a moment and think about your own life. Do you ever feel like the world around you is moving so fast, and you're just trying to keep up? It's a common experience for so many of us, but when you're in the public eye, it's even more intense. The pressure to maintain a certain image, to always be perfect, can leave you feeling like you're playing a part in your own life rather than truly living it. Depp's life seemed perfect on the outside. He had a beautiful career, a loving family, and the admiration of millions. But on the inside, he was struggling. His personal life was messy, his relationships were in turmoil, and his mental health was deteriorating. He'd gone through a bitter divorce, had legal battles, and was caught in the whirlwind of public scrutiny. He wasn't the only one going through tough times, but for him, everything was magnified by the public's gaze. The more he tried to keep things together, the more he felt like he was falling apart. One of the most difficult parts of dealing with depression, anxiety, or simply feeling lost is that you often don't even know what's happening until you hit rock bottom. Johnny Depp went through that exact experience. He didn't even realize how much he had changed until one day, when he looked in the mirror, and that's when it hit him, he didn't recognize the person staring back. For a long time, he had been living his life through the roles he played. The characters he portrayed were more real to him than his own sense of self. This can happen to anyone. We get so caught up in the responsibilities, the pressures, and the routines of life that we forget to check in with ourselves. Depp's wake-up call came when he realized how far he had strayed from the person he once was. You might wonder, how does something like that happen? How do we lose ourselves? The answer is simple, yet complex. Life. Life throws curveballs, changes, and challenges our way, and in the process, we often lose sight of who we are. For Johnny, it was a combination of personal loss, overwhelming pressure, and the grind of his career that left him feeling disconnected. And when you're caught in the whirlwind of it all, it's easy to lose track of your own identity. At this point in his life, Johnny Depp found himself standing at a crossroads. He had to make a choice: continue down the path of self-doubt, or do something to reclaim who he was. He chose the latter. Recognizing that he had lost himself was a big step, but the real work was in the recovery process. The first thing Johnny did was acknowledge the problem. That's something that's incredibly hard for most people, especially those in the public eye. There's a stigma attached to seeking help, to admitting vulnerability. But Depp broke that mold. He made the conscious decision to face the reality of his situation head-on. Depp didn't make the decision to change his life overnight. It wasn't a quick fix. Recovery, especially when it comes to mental health and self-discovery, takes time. For Depp, it involved facing the hard truths about who he was, what he had become, and what he wanted to be. It meant taking time away from the spotlight to focus on himself and regain his peace of mind. But it also meant rediscovering the things that made him who he was in the first place: his love for painting, for instance, and his appreciation for the arts. Those things, which had always brought him joy, were now the key to reconnecting with his true self. For anyone who has ever felt lost, it's important to remember that the road back to yourself doesn't have to be done alone. Seeking help is a vital part of the recovery process, and Depp's story is proof of that. Whether it's therapy, a trusted friend, or even taking time for self-reflection, it's okay to ask for help when needed. You don't have to go through it alone. Johnny Depp's journey was not about simply recovering from the pressures of fame. It was about rediscovering his true self. It was about shedding the weight of public expectations and embracing who he was underneath it all. It was a long and challenging journey, but it was one that led him back to the person he was always meant to be. As we reflect on Depp's story, it's clear that we can all learn from his experience. Whether you're a celebrity, a stay-at-home parent, or someone trying to navigate the daily grind, we all have moments when we feel disconnected from ourselves. The key to recovery is taking the first step. It's about acknowledging that you've lost touch with who you are and making a conscious decision to find your way back. Depp's story teaches us that self-rediscovery is possible, no matter how far you've gone off track. It may take time, it may be challenging, but it's always worth it. As we go through life, we must not forget to check in with ourselves, to make sure we're still the person we want to be. Because, just like Johnny Depp, we all have the power to reconnect with our true selves. At the end of the day, Johnny's story is one of hope. It's a reminder that it's never too late to find your way back to yourself. Whether you're struggling with career pressure, personal loss, or simply feeling lost, there is always a way forward. You just have to take that first step. What about you? Have you ever had a moment where you didn't recognize yourself? How did you find your way back? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And if this video resonated with you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more stories of personal growth and self-discovery. You're not alone on this journey, we're all in it together.